talking about like, you being an engineer and you being in the Black space, what are some things like Black engineers and developers can do to really get into these spaces if they don't really know anybody, to really come and get that job, get that interview, to get into Facebook
Yeah.
or Microsoft?
Yeah, man. There's a ton of different things, man. One, you got to network, man. And I think, I mean, we all linked up at Afrotech, man. So look at us now, but you really got to like go out your way to network. And I think, I'm not trying to preach to the choir because everybody knows you should be networking, but you need to network with people who have already done it. So a lot of people will network with people, not necessarily saying this is a bad thing, but at the same time, you're all both aspiring engineers or you're both aspiring to get to Google, right? But it's like none of y'all there. So y'all don't really know the breakdown of steps. And Google's going to tell you, they're pretty transparent with, all right, you got to study this at a third. But you don't know until you get in. Like I've interviewed with Google before, and obviously I did not get Google. So it's like, so it's like, it's like you need to, and I was making this mistake too. And I'll tell you guys a little story, man. This was probably the Afrotech we've met. And I was taking so many L's, man. So this is Afrotech 2 years ago, and I was taking L after L after L, man. It was IBM, nope. Google, nope. Microsoft at that time they turned me down, so it was like L after Amazon turned me down. And what I was doing that I realized was I wasn't collaborating with people who had already done it. I was collaborating with people who was like, yo, like I would just be like, tell my boy like, yo, hit me with this coding question and just prep with me for a second. But I really wasn't, reaching out to somebody who was at Facebook in the role that I was trying to get at and hitting them up on LinkedIn and saying like, yo, do you mind just quizzing me for like 30 minutes? And you'd be surprised, especially somebody who looks like you, they are more than inclined to help out. And it took me seeing like, I was like, because they have this, at least in my mind, they have this thing where in, these tech companies, if you keep trying, eventually it's kind of going on your permanent record, right? Where it's like, all right, this person tried to get this role, he didn't get this role, give him another year and he can try again. But after a while, like the more apps you put in, it kind of like decreases your chance, right? So I can't keep applying to every single thing. I missed one thing, I can't apply to another thing. So I was kind of like essentially on my last strike because I knew I was like, I need to get into big tech. And, I have Facebook. Shout out to my homegirl who got me the interview. And she was just like, maybe, if I connect you with somebody here, in this space and, you can prep for your interview. So I reached out to him. He was super receptive. And he kind of was, I'm thinking it was going to be a light interview and this is why I say it's important to network with people who are already in it, because the level of prep that he gave me was on another level from what my friends were giving me, right? It was so intense. It was like, okay, you got this. Tell me why you made that decision. Tell me why. It was always a why. It was like 4 whys after I gave the right answer. It's like, you're not wrong. It's just like, I just want to know, like, you got to break this thing down to me. So I didn't have it at that level where these people can easily get tripped up at, where I would get tripped up previously at. So, it was just like connecting with people who are in the space as well too. I think that's the key. You got to connect with people who are in that space, man. So going to these conferences and leveraging your LinkedIn, man, those are the big things for sure.
Absolutely.
Big gem.
Yeah.
Big gem.
That's a big gem, man.
Yeah. Absolutely. So now, like when you get in the place, now you've got in the door, right? Mm-hmm. You've gone through the grind of the interview. You've got your contacts. Talk to us about the life of being a Black engineer, like a Black developer. How's that like when, especially it's like, let's say 90% white, you're one of the only Black engineers. What are some things that you notice being in tech that people should be aware of when they get into, like some mistakes that you've made that you should not make when you're in the environment, and some things you should do more just to, make yourself comfortable? Talk about that experience like.
Well, now the last 2 roles I guess my experience is kind of graduating me there. Now I'm manager engineer. So now I'm kind of like leading, I kind of run the team essentially. So now I'm less hands-on with my code, or I'll look over code and I'll run queries and data on stuff, what they're doing. For the most part, I'm kind of leading them. But I would say in general, the things that you want to do, I think you kind of just want to, and this is in general, you want to make that statement. Like you want to show your worth, show your value early. Don't come up there and think that especially a lot of these tech companies, you have this boot camp time, and you have this time to kind of, you usually get like 3 months of like, all right, like you can kind of like, you know, diddle daddle, do whatever you want to do, kind of just take your time and learn. But I would say if you can, man, obviously don't rush it too much, but cut that 3 months down to 2 months or a month and a half, where it's like, okay, I'm showing that like out of my boot camp class, I'm really the one who's kind of like really accelerating right now. Because at the end of the day, it's the same thing with, we know the game, man. You got to work twice as hard as your counterparts, right? So show that impact early, because when you do that, people are going to be like, okay, by month 3, when your peers are getting onboarded and they're like just getting assignments, people are going to assign you as the go-to person for this. Or, you know, and having that rapport when people can trust you is the biggest thing in any company. It doesn't matter tech or not. If I can trust you, y'all trust each other, which is why you guys do this. Whether you trusted that you guys are going to get here at 5 o'clock, somebody's going to record it, and we're going to use Zoom, all that stuff goes into trust. You know, so that's the big thing. Like if you establish your impact early, people will trust you, and then you kind of make your name for yourself at that. So that'd be my thing. Like go harder. Don't use that 3 months period where they give you to learn and feel things out. Chop that in half. Get to it earlier. The earlier the better, man.
Facts, bro.
Yeah, that's a good one. Did you do the like exercise where you like reach out to other teams and introduce yourself and just try to get acquainted early?
Yeah. So I would definitely do that, man. And that was what I was doing, man. I was especially when I started at Facebook, man, because if you guys have ever came up to Silicon Valley, man, they have a crazy campus, and it's huge, man, and it's like a damn college, man. So, and I was networking and like, hey, I want to reach out to you and I want to set up some time on your calendar. And these people are all over campus, man. I didn't realize, I'm thinking I'm setting up back-to-back meetings. Meanwhile, these meetings is like 15 minutes away, 30 minutes away on campus. And I'm like, man, but I wanted to go out my way to kind of just network with people, because at the end of the day, my mentality is always like, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. You know, I'm not here to help build Facebook up or Microsoft up, just straight up to be whatever it's trying to get to. I'm here to absorb this knowledge, make these networks, and take this back to what I'm trying to build, and build my own empire at the same time too. So at the same time where, you know, a lot of people who get there are playing this game with like, yeah, I want to be the CEO or I want to be the director of X, Y, and Z. That's great. You're going to make a lot of money doing that. But I'm trying to build my own thing. So I need to get to, you know, plant my feet on the ground, absorbing this knowledge, building these contacts, because these people could be potential people that are going to be allies to me in the future. Because at Facebook, I got people I still communicate with to this day, you know. Lockheed, same thing. TD Bank, ironically, I still communicate with people at TD Bank, and that was probably like pushing 10 years ago now. So, you know, yeah, man. So I think that's kind of the way I look at it.
So shifting gears into entrepreneurship, right? Tech entrepreneurship. There's, again, a lack of Black founders in the space. Yes. There's aspiring Black founders who want to build a company in tech, but
Thank you for watching that video. To see the next video, click right over here. And to subscribe, click right over here. Peace.